So in this video we are going to talk about on-screen ads. Now on-screen ads are one of the main responsibilities of a projectionist. It's extremely important that you stay on top of them. The reason is if the ads aren't running, nobody's going to come out and tell you. If the movie is not running, someone's going to come out and say, hey, there's a problem, and you have an opportunity to fix the problem. However, when ads don't run, what tends to happen is nobody comes out and says anything, but then in a conversation with their friend who runs a business that's advertising says, oh, you're advertising there? I was there and I didn't see any ads playing. And then I get phone calls and grumpy people and end up giving refunds and all sorts of stuff because a projectionist just wasn't paying attention to the on-screen ads. So always be on top of ads, make sure they're running before every single show on every single screen. So ideally, when you're doing your regular screen checks, when you are checking things from the booth, this is what you see. You hear the ads running, you see them running. What happens when you check and this is what you see? Nothing. Well, this is the first place we're going to go. We're going to come back to your TPC, the touch screen where we control the projector for screens 1 through 4. And we're going to make sure that drive-in's selected. So we press and hold that. And we are back online. And the equivalent for that on screen 5 would be selecting number 7 here on the ads DVIA channel. And while we're at screen 5, it works a little bit different because it has the HDMI switch. So if we're already on channel 7, everything's looking good there, then we're going to come over here and make sure that our HDMI switch is on in 1. Make sure our connections are all good here. Here's our ad player, and they're going to look pretty much the same on every screen. They're not always in exactly the same place. So we're going to double check, make sure our HDMI is in good there. Our blue power light is on right there. Our network cable is plugged in and we've got lights flashing on it telling us that it's connected and working. And then we're going to go back and check our connection from the HDMI switch to the extractor. And we'll make sure that our HDMI is connected on both sides of that. We've got here and here, and then make sure that our audio optical connection is connected here. Back over at screen 4 now, we're basically going to go through those same steps. The only difference is we don't have an HDMI switch to deal with. So we check our connections in the side of the projector here and here, and then we check our ad player. Here's our ad player box right here. And we're going to want to make sure everything's connected here. Our blue light is on, showing us that our power is on the ad player. And for screen 4, our extractor box is back here behind the sound rack. So you can follow that HDMI cord out of the ad player. We follow that down and we find our extractor box right here. Connected there, connected here, and there is our audio connection. That audio cable, that optical cable, goes up here to the back of the CP750 where it says opt in. And then underneath it you'll see it says digital 4. So that is our digital 4 input. And then we also want to take our extractor and make sure we've got a light on down there. So if you don't have anything on screen and you've already made sure that you're on intermission here and you've checked your cable connections, your next best bet is to simply reboot the ad player. The power button is right there. It's lit up in blue. Just hit power. That's going to shut down. And then we hit power again. That will work most of the time. The screen is either blank or there's some distortion. One common problem we'll see is that the ads will only play kind of in the corner of the screen. And as they come back up, it'll cycle through that, and then your ads are back up and going. It only takes a minute to do a quick reboot of the ad player. Now, if you have anything where it's staticky or colors are distorted, there's a good chance you've got a cable connection issue. But for the most part, most of your issues are solved just with that simple rebooting of the player. If that does not solve your problem, then unplug the power to the extractor. So we'd unplug it right here, leave it unplugged for a few seconds, plug it back in, make sure the lights come back up, and then check it. If that solved your problem, great. If not, oftentimes when you do cycle power to the extractor, you need to reboot the player once again. If you ever have just a blue screen like this, and it will usually resolve itself like that. However, if it doesn't, or the other common thing that you might see is a big power symbol and it says your digital signage presentation will resume shortly, which you can kind of see behind that. So to resolve that kind of a problem where it's just stuck, the ad player's connected, it's working, it's just not playing ads. We go in here to VNC connections, ad players, select your screen, and as we pull that up, we can see the ads playing. If they had not been working, we would see, when we pulled that up, just a blue screen. So come up here to this Windows button, that simulates pressing the Windows key to pull up our menu, and just click here on Signage Player. And it comes right up. Now we saw briefly there, this screen flashed up. This window just comes up just for a moment and then it disappears. Once it's up, I just hit the escape button, pulls it back up. We've got some important information in here. Server status connected and signage controller running. If those say anything else, they won't be green, they would be red, and that indicates some kind of a connection problem. Typically, all it is just the network cable is not properly plugged into the ad player. So if you do have this screen up and it lets you click start, you'll want to click start right there. And then we can click hide up here to make that window go away, and we're back to playing ads. So for a quick recap of troubleshooting ad player problems, make sure you're on the right channel. Reboot the ad player. Check connections. And remote in and restart the player through VNC on the Projectionist computer. So why do we use an extractor? Well, the reason is, typically in a home theater, if you're going to just take a DVD player and plug it into your home TV, you've got speakers built into your TV. You're just going to take an HDMI cable straight out of your Blu-ray player and plug it straight into your TV, because the HDMI cable carries both the video signal and the audio signal. But in our case, we need to take the signal from a Blu-ray player, or in our case an ad player, some HDMI signal that's combined the audio and the video, and we need to split that because the projector needs to take the video signal and the CP750 needs to take the audio signal. So we go into the extractor where it splits those signals out, and so we send the audio one direction and the video another direction. So we take our HDMI signal out of the ad player through an HDMI cable, combined video and audio together, and we take that into an extractor together. Then our HDMI signal will go directly to the projector with just our video signal. So that comes over here to the projector and goes into our projector input. Then our audio signal that comes through this optical cable goes into the digital 4 optical input, which can then be selected, and it'll show up as valid here. That green light on the valid tells us that it is plugged in and it has a signal. And we can select it right there. Now keep in mind with the valid light, that means that it's connected. It doesn't mean that there's any sound. It will still show green even if we're on a still image with no sound playing. It just shows that there is a valid connection present. And one last note on the extractors. They will sometimes be found underneath the projector. So we just open the side, come down here, and there's that extractor down underneath, which we can always find by going from our ad player and just follow that HDMI cable. In every case though, if the player is on the projector rack, then the extractor will be nearby, either in the rack or on top of it. If the ad player is on the sound rack, as it is here in screen 4 and also on screen 2, then the extractor will be nearby on the sound rack.